Hello, and welcome to the debut stream for Hatchlings. I'm Rich Oxenham. I'm joined by Josh Somerville, our principal artist on
Hello.
Inspirisles. I'm hoping this is working and the audio is coming through clear and fine, and you can hear Josh as well. In the chat, can you
Yeah,
let
fingers
us?
crossed.
In the chat, can you let us know if that isn't the case? There's 5 people on the stream already, which is great. Hello, Rich and Josh. Yes, hi there, Witchmouth. So yeah, just let us know if the audio's working and you can hear both our
Oh, I
voices.
can hear us both loud and clear. There we go.
Excellent. Okay, I can't believe this is working.
Yeah.
I'm actually in
Couple of ups
shock.
and downs, but we got there in the end, didn't we?
Yeah. So as you can see on the screen, we've got our we've got my window, and then we've got Josh's a capture of Josh's tablet. And tonight we're going to be rendering this invention, which is actually a creature. One of our backers, Jamie, he wanted a living henge. And this is what Josh and I and Josh's partner have come up with, and we've got a whole lore behind this, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on. But as you can see, this is a very old creature that's kind of risen from the earth, and it's kind of got like weapons stuck in it from a battle, and various like iconography on its legs. And tonight we're going to be showcasing some of Josh's art for the game, and also rendering this current piece for the backer for the eventual Inspirisles release. Josh,
Yep.
you want to talk a little bit about your process then, how you normally approach art, since we're at the line art stage, aren't we?
Yeah, so I quite a rubbish sketcher, if I'm quite honest. So either I did my sketching and my line art before we started, just to get the ball rolling. And I suppose from here, really, is the colouring stage. It's fairly simple, to be honest. I just sort of, as you can see from the screen, just sort of go around selecting the outside, and then I invert it and I do a base, basically layer of colour, something close to what I'm gonna have for most of the colouring generally. To answer your question, Witchmouth, for these I've been using Procreate on my iPad, mainly so I can draw on the sofa. Is almost the entire reason I bought an iPad, was literally so I could sit on the sofa rather than sit at my desk.
Yeah, it was the same for
Seems
me.
like a flippant use of money, but I swear I turned. No. Yeah, it's actually been really nice. I've been quite impressed with Procreate on a whole. Yeah, because I know Rich isn't going to like this, but I'm not a massive fan of Apple. It just annoys me. It just annoys me the way it works.
I don't think I'm a fan of Apple. I just feel like almost I started buying them originally, and therefore I never stopped. It's like you get into a habit of buying a certain product.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I get it. Okay, so that's going to be our base colour, a nice grey, obviously, because it's a rock. Now, I tend to find it's quite useful to sort of, well, the principle you should probably follow in most artwork is you start from the back and work your way forward.
Okay.
So what I'm probably going to do is put just a little bit of texture on the grey stone before we start going in and sort of differentiating the the grassy section, like the weapons and such like that.
Yeah.
Get a nice sort of
Base.
textured brush.
Yeah, okay. So you're putting like a base kind of layer of detail on it before you even start colouring. That's a good idea. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
So just like because obviously rocks are never like one color, are they? Um,
that's true.
and we
Yeah.
don't want to go too. We don't want to go too colourful
No,
as well.
exactly. Yeah. Um, just to
Click
just to
mask there.
talk a little while you get this detail on. I was talking a little bit about the art in the game actually. So from the beginning, I took Josh on as a knot artist. Really, I mean, he's extraordinary knot pieces as you can see on the cover, and some such, and even on the overlays we've got for the game and for the streams. But little did I know that he had a secret ability to do creatures. We eventually came to an understanding that he would be able to do most of the monsters for the game, if not all, barring the inspired, which are like the gods of the game, which Lucille Noir's doing. But yeah, I kind of had an obsession with Zelda and Ghibli films since I was a lot younger, since my late teens really, and I wanted that influence within the game of Inspirisles in some degree, and Josh really managed to embrace that. I feel, while keeping his own identity, very much so. It is borderline Zelda-ish type art, but it isn't exactly like that. It's not quite as cell shaded for a start, is it, Josh?
No, I think we've managed to after a bit of back and forth, I think managed to sort of like carve our own identity.
Yeah, I agree.
In the sort of style, you've just always got to be careful, haven't you? You don't want to. It's a fine line between like being, what's the word? Being inspired, I suppose, or and just straight up copying something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's definitely a fine line.
Yeah.
But we seem to have just about got it. Actually, I'll get some art of yours up now. Actually, while we're doing a little bit, this is going to go over a little bit, but So this one piece up at the moment is the Boar Riders of Avalon, and in the game, the main principle of the game is to earn belief in any way you can as a player, and then feed that belief to the world tree, which is currently sort of rotting and fading with the amount of disbelief that's been built up. And you play the descendant of Guinevere and Arthur, and you're sent routinely every couple of generations to the Inspirisles to earn belief and benefit the Fae, and essentially save them. And one of the tasks you can take part in is boar jousting, and I think this piece particularly really demonstrates the kind of Zelda style, because it's got quite clean definition on it, I feel. Even when you look at the armour, and even though it's detailed, like the whole piece feels very kind of clean, and you look at it and it feels very clear, doesn't it? It's got a very clear identity.
Yeah, I can often get sort of like bogged down in, like any artist, get bogged down in just like rendering detail. So it's been quite nice to be sort of a bit like cartoony with stuff.
Yeah.
I feel this, like you said, this one harkens a lot more to like Zelda esque artwork, especially in like the bold colours that get used, that were used in it. The colour choice, again, fantastic. That was really a fun part of creating this creature.
Yeah, do you want to explain what we did? That was really quite unique, wasn't it?
So well, basically, I was just sort of struggling to think of a color scheme for the basic, the livery of it.
Yeah.
And I had this idea one day. Because a big part of like Inspirisles and like the community that we have is obviously being inclusive.
Yep.
I thought, why don't we put it to a vote on the Discord? and we can choose from some of the LGBT plus flags. If anybody's ever looked into this, you'll find out that there's absolutely loads. So we kind of, I did. I sort of broke it down into basically manageable colour schemes. That sort of made voting a bit easier as well.
Sure.
You know, it's always hard if you've got like 15 options to to work off, isn't it? You know.
Very much so. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. You don't want too many options, and also we want to retain that simplistic style. So we don't want too many clashing things. But you took the style, as the viewers can see, you took the style and really integrated it into every element, didn't you? Like even bits of the armour and his obviously his lance and the flag. You know, so it's but as a foundling, as one of the player characters, you can take part in these tournaments. And everything in the game is non-lethal because part of the mythology or the folklore of Inspirisles is that the rulers basically banned bloodshed and murder and things, and even try to limit death in some ways. But that's a whole different story. We'll have another stream about some of the lore. How hard is it? How hard is it to describe things and draw at the same time?
Pretty hard, actually. to be quite honest.
Multitasking.
I know. I'm not as a man. I'm not great at multitasking at the best of times.
Yeah.
As my partner will undoubtedly tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move on to another piece.
I always find it's useful working to. Yeah.
Carry on.
I was just going to say, it's always useful when you're working, like, you'll see me now, like, you'll see I'm just flicking through the layers, like, sometimes it's just useful to flick through the different, like, layer styles to see what your options are.
Okay.
Like, sometimes you can find quite a nice, something that you wouldn't have necessarily, like, thought of just because the app's doing a lot of the work yourself.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. You like a little bit of experimentation. You mean? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I loved using the iPad and Procreate. It's been fantastic. Obviously, I'm not a professional artist, but like I'm a hobbyist. But I still enjoyed, setting up all the art for the Kickstarter, etc., and getting it to the place where people wanted to back it. That was nice. Because you still need some art in it. You need some art to sell the product or to launch the page.
Talking about the Boar Night, was quite funny. Where obviously you went a bit into the lore where you said everything's supposed to be non-lethal.
Yeah.
It was I found it funny when you were like, "Oh, we should put them in leather armor." It's like if there's one thing I would never want to do, it's jousting in leather armor. Even with a blunt joust,
Yeah.
Blunt lance.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a bit of a misstep on my part. I don't know.
It's all right. Funny though. Oh. Right, okay. So we've got there a bit of like a very loose sort of texture on it now. Like nothing sort of like defined. It just sort of breaks up the massive grey that we had. So now what I'm going to do is just go in and sort of block out colours.
Right, okay.
Sort of separate stuff up. It's very, very interesting where I literally just select stuff that I want to colour.
Yeah, okay.
Press a button and
nice.
It does it for me.
Oh. Yeah, but most people wouldn't know about these techniques, obviously. Witchmouth's son is wanting to create art, so this is probably really interesting for him to, even if he's not watching it now, he can watch it another time. and get some techniques.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is part of the reason
Yeah.
why we're doing it. Also, he says it reminds me of Sir Didymus from Labyrinth, the boar. Yeah. Again, Labyrinth is a massive influence on me and Josh to a point as well, to an extent.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a great movie. One of my partner's all-time favourite movies.
Yep.
Yeah, she absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, one of the creatures we've designed recently is I was told by one of my art friends is very sort of David Bowie-esque. You know, the sort of the mermaid one we made for the backer.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no one's seen that yet. There's quite a lot. There's quite a few creatures that no one's seen, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And on that note, let's get another piece of art. Let's get another one of your pieces up. There. Now this is the Questing Beast. Now, originally, when I sent the sketch over to Josh, and I did a sketch of a half snake, half leopard, and sort of deer or stag, and Josh thought I was mental. He said, like, that doesn't really fit Celtic folklore, surely. And then we both looked it up, and it was like, no, actually, that is exactly what it's meant to be.
I was so surprised. I was like, surely the Celts
don't have
no
a
idea
leopard.
What a leopard is.
Yeah. So we there's quite a lot of there was quite a lot of what's the word, concept back and forth, wasn't there, on this creature, particularly around the pose, wasn't it? We had to make it imposing, and we had to make it kind of like sort of stalking the players, because that's its role in the game, basically. Just to go into a little bit of the game system mechanics, the longer you don't earn belief and rank up, as Witchmouth was asking about earlier, the longer you leave that, the more disbelief that's earned, and the worse the world tree gets. And if you leave it for too long, it's got a sort of timer on the game, and it goes to different levels. And one of the levels, it sort of unleashes the Questing Beast. And what the Questing Beast does is it goes straight for Avalon and tries to disrupt the Holy Grail, basically. And in the game, the players, the foundlings, have a pool of power, which is like a flask which they carry with them, and they can swig from the Holy Grail water. And what the Questing Beast wants to do is disrupt that and take that boon away from you. So each level of disbelief earns a sort of, we're calling it a calamity, and the Questing Beast is one of these. And the idea of that came from the sort of idea of the Kraken from Greek mythology, you know, as some sort of like massively destructive and disruptive force. And I think Josh has done a brilliant job on that, and that was one of the first pieces he did, if not the first piece. What's happening? So what you do on the henge now then? What's the next sort of thing? You're just going through different areas, aren't
you? Yeah, so I'm basically putting in the base colour for the grass.
Mm-hmm.
I filled in the majority of it, as you can see, because it's all green.
Yeah.
But I need to cut, like I was saying before, I need to colour behind the line art as well.
Right. Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to create a weird colour when I change change how soft the line art is. Because if your line art's black, it doesn't make a difference. It's always going to be black.
Yeah.
But I've been using a coloured line art on a layer setting, so that it sort of like some of it blends in. You get like a little bit of a different colour on some of it, and it's had quite a nice effect. But it does mean you've got to be like fairly careful with your colour.
Yep.
Because if you've got half of one colour and half of another behind the line art, it just looks wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, got you.
So I'm nearly done. I think I've done this. Yeah, a little bit left. I'll need to fill in a couple of the little bits that the select tool didn't pick up, which is fine. Okay, so let's get rid of that. We just got to go in and find all the bits that we missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, this grass I think is going to be tricky to colour in the style that we've been doing the rest of it. I'm just trying to think about
I love the details on it though. I love the arrows and the sword and stuff. I love the perspective you get on the weapons and things. Because originally you had hundreds of weapons and stuff sticking out of it, but we thought maybe it was a bit overkill.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I just sort of went a bit nuts.
Experimenting on it, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to,
yeah.
I always think it's easier to go with more when you start. Cause I think always find it easier to sort of tone stuff down.
Yeah.
Than it is when you've you've got so far in a piece, you're like, oh, I've got to think of stuff to add to it now.
Yeah.
It's just I just feel like it's a harder way around. Okay.
Looking awesome. Let's get another piece up before we wrap up. Let's go to this and then see what's next. Oh right, yeah, the Spriggan. This is.
This is definitely one of my favourites.
Yeah, you loved doing this, didn't you? And you almost had it.
It was great fun.
Yeah, because I was talking about masks, wasn't I, at the beginning? Again, a bit like influenced by Zelda, Majora's Mask, kind of like that creepiness.
Yeah.
The Mask Collector in that was really freaked me out when I was younger. And then you started looking into Welsh folklore, didn't you? Really, and found this sort of fella.
Yes, Mary Cloyd.
Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Which is basically a Christmas tradition here in Wales.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good fun. It's basically somebody with a stick with a horse's skull on the top of it. It's got loads of bangles in his hair and whatever, and it's got a big cloak around it, and it sort of comes up to your house, knocks on your door, demands if you've got anything in your pantry, and sings you a song. And if you don't sing a song back, you have to give it a load of food, beer. It's a great tradition.
Nice.
I love it. It's
cool.
Also terrifying.
Yeah.
If you look at real world pictures of it, it's just it's horrendous. But lots of good fun. Okay. What colour should we make the flags?
Let's have a look.
Do you want different colours? Do you want the same colours? What do you reckon?
It would make sense the same colour, wouldn't it, if it's one army or one side of a battle? I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think red and green's a good combination, and sometimes.
Yeah. Christmassy, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the henge, because we got this request from a backer, and at first we were like, it should be possible. I wasn't sure that you'd come up with such a good design, but you found some photographs, didn't you? That looked like they were henges moving. It was really interesting.
Yeah. So there's a couple of standing stone henges in and around Wales, as well as Stonehenge.
Yeah.
And they're much a bit more elaborate, as much as stones can be. They often feature almost like a little passageway through them, as if you could walk into them.
Yeah.
They look a lot more like tombs, I suppose, than henges,
mm-hmm.
and that's one of the theories behind them.
Yeah, And then we kind of played on that, didn't we, with the lore of this henge, which we still haven't named. We might have a naming session one evening on stream
Yeah.
for various creatures. Because at the moment we've got Rockety Rock or something. Jamie was saying, but I don't really want to go with that. But yeah, the idea. Your partner came up with some concepts for it, didn't she?
Yes.
And it was that they were. Well, you explain it. You probably explain it better because you were in the middle of it.
So we sort of played on the idea of it being a burial site.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, well, okay, so he wanted like the backer wanted an enchanted henge. That was sort of like what he asked for. And we thought, well, okay, so we thought if it is a tomb, then maybe it could be sort of like possessed by the spirit that was buried there.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you sort of fit that into the Inspirisles lore? And you've got to think about like the whole belief system that we've got going.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, what if there were storytellers, like the spirit was trying to like pass on its message as it was sort of travelling around, trying to like what's the word I'm looking for? Like bloody hell. Sort of like convince people of what it had done.
Yeah, like it's kind of like lifetime, it's history. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Yeah, and they often we were saying they wouldn't often they might not often tell truth or something. They might be make stuff up or like be false and yeah.
Well, that could be like the disbelief side. I think
yeah, exactly.
Where,
yeah,
they might not necessarily be telling the truth because through lies they can earn as much belief or disbelief as they go.
Very much a grey creature. Very much grey creature. Very primeval.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I just noticed that the shield you've done is like its eye. Yeah, is that the idea? The shield stuck in the side. It's almost like its eye.
Oh, I suppose. I was expecting its face to be more of like the front, where it's leaning forward.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I always took that shield as being its eye. That's quite interesting. Well, it's good that we've got different interpretations, though. So it's really good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let me just get it brown. These arrows and spears.
Hmm.
Woody. I suppose we want it a bit more. Yeah. Weathered. Yeah, so if you look at my sketch, that's probably a good idea actually. If you look at the sketch,
yep.
There you go. It had more.
Yeah.
Had way more. This is toned down before.
Oh right, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
It was starting to look more like a hedgehog in the end, wasn't it?
Totally, yeah, that's awesome though. We're gonna have like a couple of teenagers or little kids sat down in front of it, kind of like listening to the stories it tells. But as I said, we'll have a stream. We'll have like a showcase of the creatures, more of the creatures, and then the Twitch followers can then or the people tuning in can name them or come up with suggestions for names. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be, or like naming the people that were buried in them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. So we've got a lot of stuff to come.